Hello everybody, E here. Welcome back to King Ranked. Before we jump into the video, I need to do the giveaway for If It Bleeds. So the winner of a brand new first edition hardcover of If It Bleeds goes to Beautifully Broken 0730. I'll put her comment up here. So if you want to collect your book, all you have to do is email me at edwardlorn, L-O-R-N, @gmail.com. or basically the name of this channel at gmail.com, and send me your address and I'll have the book out to you as soon as possible. On with Stephen King Ranked. So at number 45, we have a book that I've always kind of enjoyed, but the last time that I read it, I absolutely loved it, and that is Roadwork from the Bachman books, or by itself. It was published by itself before. What I love about this book, and why it's so far up on the list, where it's usually toward the bottom of the list. I would believe even Stephen King might put it down low on his favorites, just taking from what he said from interviews about how it was the first general fiction novel that he had wrote that didn't have any the supernatural aspects or any of that stuff. A very basic character piece, but I think that's why it works as well as it does. Last time I read it, I blew right through it, loved it. But the book that comes after this one, I fought a lot with which one I would want to read next. So if you're keeping track of ties, I would say that both this one and the next one are tied for number 45. I don't have an honorable mention this week, so I mean, if you want to call them both 45, or if you want to put that, we're going to call it 45, simply because that's what I ended up with. I mean, I don't have any other reasoning other than maybe the cover art. I know that might sound weird, but if I'm going to base it on anything, it's going to be the cover art. And at number 44, we have Desperation, which is the twinner to The Regulators, which is funny because the last book on this list was a Bachman book. This, however, is not one. But I enjoy this book quite a bit. The perceived religious overtones, I'm not a huge fan of, but that's just a personal bias. I don't like a whole lot of religion in my books, and this one goes a little bit overboard. Whereas the Regulators, well, you know, the Regulators haven't been on this list so far, so it's definitely above this one. The Regulators, I think, went the accurate amount of bizarre, whereas this one, it seemed like he was writing by the seat of his pants, and usually good Stephen King books are those books where you just don't expect where it's going, and this is good for that reason. But the reason why it's so far up on this list is, and this list is about covering everything. The production quality, the book itself, you know, even backstories behind the books are going to come into play later on. Desperation, I usually give it about 3 stars, which is funny because I gave Roadwork 5, but this is above that. But I would still, since I read Roadwork not too long ago, and it's been a while since I read this one, I would want to read Roadwork before I read this one. I know that kind of goes against my policy. This is the best of. But one of the reasons why this list took so long for me to do is because my opinions about books change constantly. And one of the things that I said when I started out with this list is that these are the order that I would want to read them as far as my draw to the book. And I think I would want to read this one more than Roadwork at present time, simply because of the bizarre nature of this book, and Roadwork is a little more basic. I hope all that makes sense. And at number 43, we have Stephen King's first published novel, which is Carrie. This is an enjoyable read. Once again, oddly enough, I think I only gave it 3 or 4 stars last time, whereas I gave Roadwork 5 stars. Again, I would read Roadwork before I read Desperation or Carrie. With Carrie, and this I don't want to get too hung up on order, but here in the middle, it was so muddled with terrific, fantastic books. I didn't know how else to do it. Because I think from 20 onward, basically I love all those books the same except for the top 5. With Carrie, this one means a little bit more to me, even more so now. Every single time I've read it, it's meant something different to me. But this last time, my son Dan read the book without telling me. He's blown through Pet Sematary, The Shining, Dr. Sleep, several different books without telling me he was even reading Stephen King, and now all of a sudden he's talking to me about it. I guess he wanted to be a little more informed before he started talking to me about it, which I absolutely love. Very proud father. He's 15, by the way. But this one, I like it even more now that Dan likes it, and this was his gateway drug. He started at the beginning, but now he's starting to hop around because I think he likes King's. And I'm gonna talk to him more about this. I think he likes King's new style more than his old style. Anyways, yeah, that's number 43. And at number 42, we have The Dark Half. This one, I enjoy this book a lot, mainly because I am a writer. I enjoy the way he talks about Thad Beaumont, and Thad, whatever, Beaumont is one of my favorite characters in the Stephen King universe, especially because his entire after story. This book ends. It has a conclusion, but to find out what happens to Thad Beaumont, I always want to call him Thad Beaumont, you have to read books like The Sundog, Bag of Bones, and I believe even, no, not Insomnia, but the end of his story is told through other stories until finally we learn about his death in, well, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but we finally learn of his death in one of the books that I mentioned. I love the circular nature of the theme, how the birds come into play. What are they, sparrows, I think they are. I don't guess it matters. I could be, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to go looking through it, but I think they're sparrows. Might be finches. I don't know. That's going to bother me, but I'm going to continue on without that. The movie, the George Romero adaptation of this book is, I'm a big fan of that one also. I would rather read the book, though. It's one of the few times that the movie is as good as it is, but I still feel like the book is better. And I'm talking about Shawshank Redemption. I know, it's sacrilege, blasphemy, I know. Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, Christine, Cujo, I would even say the movie's better. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure you guys will disagree with me down below, and that's fine. We can all have our differing opinions and go on about our lives, maybe even be friends. That's why I like discussion down there in the doobly-doo. And I'm not just telling you to talk to me. Talk to everybody else, too. Go comment on other stuff. We're going to talk about that in a little while. But everybody's always talking to me. Talk to the other people in the comments section. And at number 41 is the denouement to Stephen King's magnum opus, The Dark Tower, which is, it's a titular book. It's the titular book in the series. It is The Dark Tower. And I have a paperback here because I didn't want to dig out my hardcover back here. But it's right where? Right there, I think. Anyways, it's right here. I'll actually touch it. It's right there. But, so, yeah, The Dark Tower, while I do not love this book, it is very important and special to me because it finally brings the entire story full circle. He really fleshes out a lot of ideas that people were wondering about in the earlier books. I believe I'm kind of alone here. Maybe I'm not. Maybe you guys can soothe my self-esteem. No, get rid of the loneliness. The ending is perfect. If you go all the way back to the Gunslinger, he's been setting up this ending ever since book 1. All the interviews that he's done, all the forwards and afterwards that he's written, everything has come to fruition. Everything that he promised us, we got. I do find it funny that for the longest time he had a bit of a red herring out there where he said, and these are spoilers for The Dark Tower, so if you need to, click away. You've seen all 5 videos. I'm just going to be rambling from here on out like I normally do. The ending to me is very, very special because everything, like I said, came to fruition. Everything he prepared us for it from all the way back from the first book. But what I was getting at before for the spoilers for The Dark Tower is he warned us throughout the entire series that Roland might not make it to the Dark Tower. He might not be the member of the Quartet that actually makes it to the tower. That was one of the most fascinating and most well done red herrings in all of literature, I think, because all of us were constantly on edge. And he did that very early, letting us know, I think it was the Wastelands, it might have even been the Drawing of the Three, where he says, you know, Roland might not be the one to make it. And that right there made me want to finish the series, if no other reason. In fact, after Wizard and Glass, the only reason I wanted to continue on with the series is because he mentioned that it might not be Roland who makes it to the tower. And then we get to the end of the book, and it's absolutely perfect. But if you know what a red herring is, you know how it ends. Well, at least you know who survives and who makes it to the tower. Well, this book, I rank this one probably higher than I should, because, like I said, I don't enjoy the entire book. I mean, it isn't until things get, I think until Patrick gets in there, that I really, really started to love the book. I think it's Patrick, the one who draws. I really loved it after that, and I loved the ending, but a lot of this book was a slog for me. And it always has been. I think I've read it 3 times so far. But with this one, I can't put it any lower than this because of how much I want to reread it and want to reread the series. The problem with rereading the series is I have to get through Wizard and Glass and Song of Susanna just to get to this gem. Anywho, so that is King ranked week, what are we, week 6, something like that? I can't remember. I leave all my stuff written down and then I do it off the top of my head. But that's King ranked for this week. And let me know down there in the comments, down there in the doobly-doo, what you guys feel about the placement of this book especially. If you made it to the end of the video, congratulations, you're here, hello. Hope I didn't spoil anything for you. But I want to know what your feelings are, without spoilers, what your feelings are as far as the Dark Tower. Do you agree with me as far as it being good because it brought everything together, or are you on the side of it that you like it even, you like all the parts that I dislike kind of deal, all the front matter? Or do you dislike the book or the way it ended? Like I said, try to stay away from spoilers, but if you have to do spoilers, please put a spoiler alert and then tab down, you know, or enter down. Well, my age is showing. Then leave your spoiler toward the end of your comment so people have to click read more, you know what I'm saying? I think it's like 5 enters and you should be fine. But anyways, so do you agree with any, if you don't want to talk about the Dark Tower, do you agree with this list or any of your favorites or your least favorites on this list? Let me know down there in the doobly-doo. But until next time, I have been E, you have been you, this has been Stephen King Ranked. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye!